As you may have noticed, over the last few months, many gaming companies have had layoffs after layoffs. Games are getting more expensive to produce, budgets, they're ballooning. It's all just getting too much. We saw EA, Sony, for instance, have to cut a lot of their staff, Microsoft not too long before then. However, thankfully, despite all of this, all of these companies seemingly still have enough money to spend on a consultancy called Sweet Baby Inc., whose sole purpose is to add their own brand of diversity into these games. Basically, a Sony, for instance, will hire this Sweet Baby Inc. company to come in, look at the writing, look at the game, and then insert their own brand of politics into all of it. Essentially undermining, ruining the game in some cases, as we've seen with so many games where there's so much that is obviously forced in, agendas, worldviews. It's pretty pathetic. Sweet Baby Inc., I've known about them for a while. I've seen them out of the corner of my eye. Heaps of AAA projects they've been involved in. It seems like every second game that comes out now that's mainstream, they've dug their claws in and they're somehow involved. The reason it's interesting right now is a few days ago, on Steam, players basically voiced that they've had enough of this. Someone has made a Steam Curator, kind of like a Steam group, where, as far as I understand it, a player can set up this curator so that when they browse the Steam store, they won't see any games that are infested with Sweet Baby's nonsense. And to give a little bit more context, if we look at the Sweet Baby website, we can see a bit of this here. The website actually looks pretty amateurish, if I'm being honest, but it mentions that they were founded in 2018 and that they're in narrative development and consultation, working around the globe, and they specialize in writing, narrative, representation, and development, and some of their projects include Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2. We know what sort of direction that went in. I haven't personally played it, but what the fans have said is if you're looking for a game that is a very certain brand of politics, that is definitely it. So again, Sweet Baby, they've absolutely attached themselves to all of these titles. This post kind of breaks that down pretty well too. It mentions some of Sweet Baby Inc.'s services like representation, cultural consultation, sensitivity and inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment. It goes on and on. They bang on, and they've worked with Xbox, EA, Santa Monica Studios, a Sony studio, many others. Some of this has been known for a few days now, but where it gets very interesting is this Steam group. So again, Sweet Baby Inc. Detected is what it's called, and this is how you can basically just ensure you don't see any of the trash games that have hired Sweet Baby Inc. to work on them, because again, this seems to ruin games. Do you want to play a game where you know the team has invested money into this crap? Make the game better. Most of these games they've been involved in, they've got some flaws. They could be improved, and this isn't improving it. You've made the game worse on purpose. But it's actually up to 80,000 followers and going up. It's going up every time you refresh. People are very interested. I'm not logged in right now, but when I get back to my Steam account, I'm going to follow this because I find it very interesting. But what is quite funny is Sweet Baby Inc. themselves, they haven't ignored this. Despite these sorts of people, they usually try and say anyone who is not totally on board with this sort of political crap going into their games, they try and say anyone with that mindset, they're in a loud minority. Most people in the mainstream love that sort of stuff. Obviously, they're delusional. And they don't back themselves up because they were outraged by this. The people at Sweet Baby Inc., they started to lose their minds when they found out people could find a way to simply ignore them, walk around them, and look at games that they might be interested in that aren't political in this way. So rather than just leave it alone, they started to attack the creator of this curator, as well as basically anyone who is interested in it as well. And we can see this in a series of Twitter posts. We can see Sweet Baby employee crying Chris Kindred, he works at Sweet Baby Inc., one of the narrative people. He's absolutely melting down, and he says, report the fuck out of this group, and report the creator since he loves his account so much. So he's there completely raging, trying to get the creator of that Steam group banned, purely because he doesn't like what he set up. He just innocently set up a filter, essentially, so you don't have to see games attached to Sweet Baby Inc. And this person wants their account banned. Report the group, get the entire group banned as well. Jesus Christ, you can see the mindset of these people. If you're not on board with them, you've got a big problem. You need to be shut down. This kind of continues as well. Sweet Baby Inc. is sending goons to attack this pro-consumer community. So if you go into the Sweet Baby Inc. detected curator, then you'll see posts like this. If you're against Sweet Baby Inc., you are a racist. And his reasoning for this, his evidence, is Sweet Baby is only dedicated in the story part of the game. They don't work on the gameplay. So my question for all the anti-Sweet Baby people is, why do you think that Sweet Baby ruins games? Isn't gameplay the most important part of a game after all? So this is that classic case where they try and say, oh, what we're doing, it doesn't matter, it shouldn't affect you at all. But when you try and avoid it, then they absolutely go crazy. Why are you avoiding it? Are you a racist? Are you a this? Are you a phobe? What's going on here? So they pretend that they don't care if you don't see it. It's all irrelevant, but they absolutely go psycho in any other case. The truth is you hate Sweet Baby only because they had diverse characters, people of colours, non-binary. Anything else is just a cheap excuse. Your curator list is as racist as if you made a list of all games with black people in it. This group is against Steam rules and should be taken down. Hopefully the moderation acts quickly. Now, as usual, these people, they either miss the point or they lie about it to suit their own narrative. Now, is the reason people might be interested in this curator because they don't want to see a black person? No, it is not. For the vast majority of people, it is the mindset that your video game company is willing to hand money over to this pointless, useless group and then have them artificially infect politics into the game for the sole purpose of appeasing idiots, basically. It's not purely because you had one character of a certain skin color in the game. It's the entire mindset that rather than going in with the purpose of making the best game possible, your idea is spreading some sort of message. And I'll tell you this as well, a company that is willing to hire these people, it's usually going to mean that that company is infested with all of the same sorts of people as well. People don't hire Sweet Baby because they're like, you know what, we don't know anything about politics, we don't care, we just want to make our game, so we better hire these people to sort of fill that knowledge gap that we don't have. No company's doing that. It's these studios who are already thinking like this. All they care about is politics. They don't care about games. They hate their customers, the ones who just want to buy a good game. They're only interested in people who also share their worldview. So they go ahead and hire a Sweet Baby just to inject more into the internet, to kind of confirm their own biases. That's what it is. So people who want to avoid them, it's very much for that reason. We just want to play a fun game. If you've hired Sweet Baby, it's a very clear sign that something is rotten. That's why we want to avoid it. And of course, rather than get into the nuances of it, these people just attack you and go nuts. There's more of this as well. Video games are not for right-wingers. Sorry guys, you're not the audience companies care about. I would think that anyone willing to spend money you should care about. Are you really being picky? I don't think so. That's why these studios are having these layoffs, because the line must go up, up and up. The executives, the shareholders, they just want more money. They don't care where it comes from. Nor the side that creates video games. Otherwise, you would not need to create groups like this. Well, I'm sorry, but you do not have to be a right-winger to not like this crap. This is not just, oh, you must be on one big side of the political spectrum if you don't like this. Literally everyone who is not extreme on your side of the aisle cannot stand this nonsense. No one likes it. Unfortunately, we get the voice of reason down the bottom here. Someone says, video games are for all, regardless of their social or political beliefs. True. Now, adding on to this, more of the employees at Sweet Baby are getting exposed. We can see here in this post, someone says there is something deeply wrong in this industry. Sweet Baby Inc. founder has a speech saying, "We are not going to make more games for the white man." Now an employee says this, "Are you really going to pay $70 for games made by racists? This is truly disturbing." So this person here, an employee at Sweet Baby, who people are paying to inject this crap into their game. It's not like they hired this person and made a mistake. They're literally going out of their way and saying, "Here's the cash, specifically put this crap in our game." I usually get grossed out when straight white rich people kiss, but even I think those two are pretty cute. Now, I don't know what the context is, what he's talking about. I don't care. I don't want to see what he's talking about. This person is a weirdo. Also, I mentioned that these different studios, like some of the PlayStation ones, I think it was it Santa Monica? I think that was one of them, the God of War studio. I mentioned that it's not like those studios are normal and they just happen to hire Sweet Baby to fill like a gap because they're not diverse enough. No, the people who work at these studios are just as bad, so it's a clear sign all round that you should avoid games that Sweet Baby are involved in. And here is Exhibit A of that. This person works as a writer for Santa Monica, and he says, "I was a writer on this," referring to God of War Ragnarok. "I don't know if you'll like the parts I wrote, but I'm pretty sure you'll like the game in general. Also, I tried really hard to make Kratos talk about kissing guys." Now, the reason this is concerning is because you would think a studio like this, working on this game, 500 plus employees, possibly, huge team, you would expect that they've banded together with the same mindset, the same idea and philosophy, which is we're going to make the best possible game. But instead, they see the game, so many of these people, as just a vehicle to inject their own little message in there. They're rubbing their hands together and they're thinking, "Oh, everyone's going to see it. We're going to convert more people to our side. That's all that matters. Get the young people in. Get them all they're young. That's what we want to do. We basically want to brainwash people into thinking like us." That is literally how they're thinking. They do not care about video games. They don't care about the medium. Most of these people are probably salty that they have to work on video games because they have no talent and can't do anything else. And it seems like studios hire idiots like this because, again, they share the same worldview. That's all this is about. Now, they've kind of got on the defensive since then, so Sweet Baby, these different employees, they're attacking the Steam Curator, this group who are trying to avoid this company, essentially. Since then, they've gotten a lot of backlash. People on YouTube, general people in the gaming community, they've started to try and walk it back a little bit, pretend like they don't care. And they've even started to remove some of the games that they've been working on, I believe, off their website. They used to be very vocal about it, and they'd have heaps and heaps of games, projects that Sweet Baby have been involved in. They were very open about it. They bragged about it. But I think some of the clients might be starting to panic. And it's funny, you can see some of them in there, like Rocksteady. So they worked on Suicide Squad, Sweet Baby. Really helped them there, didn't it? What a classic game. But basically, studios are now embarrassed. They don't want to be associated with them because it's no longer a positive stamp. It's now starting to look like a sign of shame that you should be appalled that you got involved with this stupid company. So basically, they're hiding their involvement now, and they're probably going to be more sneaky about it. And people are going to have to kind of think about it a little bit, because when you get a game, Sweet Baby might be involved, but the company themselves might not admit to it, Sweet Baby, as well as the developer who worked on it. No one's going to admit that they hired these clowns. So it's something to think about. There might be little bits of evidence, scraps out there, and I'm sure this Steam Curator group's going to be onto it. They've been pretty good about getting evidence. I think there may have even been some games thrown on this list where Sweet Baby weren't genuinely involved, and they made an effort to remove those. So they're being really clear, evidence-focused. They're not just sort of throwing out the baby with the bathwater and putting anything they don't like on this list. They're looking for evidence of Sweet Baby involvement. If there is that, then they'll put the game on there. If not, they'll leave it off. I think there was like IMDb listings, which are never 100% accurate. You shouldn't take that as fact. So it seems like a really great group if you want to avoid the sort of nonsense. Just lastly on that, it mentions here someone has looked into a game called Hyperlight Breaker, which was previously listed as a Sweet Baby project. Now it's no longer on their website. I assume he means on the Sweet Baby website. Now, this person says it seems like the developers pulled out at some point and maybe Sweet Baby aren't working on the game anymore. We don't really know that though. Again, maybe people are being sneakier and some companies are saying, yes, come in, Sweet Baby, and destroy our game, but we can't have everyone know because we want to take everyone's money. We don't want to risk people not buying because they don't want politics shoved down their throat. So there is a bit of this sneakiness going on. It's going to be interesting. To see this group grow, though, is fantastic. I hope it keeps growing. I hope it sends a message that gamers have had enough. Just focus on making good games. And for us, it is important to support the games that are getting it right. They're focused on fun. They're not focused on messaging, the narrative. It's got to be a certain way, certain characters. Even look at Starfield. You go to a planet and it seems that people with my skin color don't exist anymore. They've been injected out into space. But thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.